Hello, my name is He Who Is in the Water. Going to be playing some Pauper today, and I got a cool red-green Sprout Swarm deck that we're going to play today. So, I started building this with a different deck in mind, and as with most good things, it starts with Mardu Warshrieker. So, a while ago, I built this deck with Famished Foragers in mind when this card came out. That's Midnight Hunt. And Mardu Warshrieker has redundancy with this card and also Coal Stoker. So I had built this deck around that time with the plan of going turn 2 Goblin and Archomancer or a familiar effect, and then turn 3 you attack and just dump out as many of these creatures as you can from your hand. It was not very good. This also had like a backdoor kind of combo plan with Ashnod's Altar, Reaping the Graves, and Elementalist, and Hissing Iguana. If you make these cheap enough, you can start to loop things there. Is just a very bad Goblin combo deck, or bad Retriever kind of kill from there. But I was interested in revisiting this when Basilisk Gate came out, because that helps make this kind of dorky aggressive plan into something better. And you already want to play these kind of thriving lands to access all of these familiars, because you want to be playing a large number of basics so that you can go like turn 1 tap land, turn 2 familiar, turn 3 red creature, which is just a lot on the mana base. So like the Gates package seemed like it could fit in reasonably well here and make your late game inevitability a bit stronger. But this was a pretty weak brew. Something I might revisit in the future for sure, but it's just there's too much going on here and not enough room for this combo package in particular. But like, it's kind of a useful thing. I don't know what to do with it. But when I was brewing this, one of the interesting things that like definitely stuck with me was Goblin and Archomancer plus Winding Way and Lead the Stampede is a pretty powerful package. That can do some different things, and obviously Winding Way and Lead the Stampede have a lot of precedence as a draw package in Pauper, but hadn't seen it with Goblin and Archomancer, so I was starting to think about other things to do with that. And I thought about the untappers, like Nettle Sentinel, and that's kind of how I ended up looking at Sprout Swarm again, and it's been okay. So we do have let's see. You can separate these into a few categories like this. No, let's do more like that. Yeah. So, Sprout Swarm is a common from Future Sight with buyback, and this is a card that's just begging you to go infinite with it, because you can tap the Saproling that it makes for the green mana, and so if you can reduce the cost of this enough, you're just going to make infinite tokens, and that's really what we're trying to do here. So we have 5 ways to reduce its cost, and we want to get 4 of them in play at the same time. So Blister Split Gremlin untaps when we cast non-creature spells, Nettle Sentinel untaps when you cast green spells, and Thunderscape Familiar reduces green spells, and Goblin and Archomancer reduces red and green spells, and Thermo Alchemist, card I think hopefully everybody's familiar with by now. Well, maybe you don't have to be anymore. This card's not really played, but it was played for a long time. I'm feeling old now. But Thermal Alchemist is definitely a classic Pauper card. Also untaps when you cast instants. So the idea will be that you start your chain, and then once you cast Sprout Swarm, these 12 creatures will untap and allow you to pay the Convoke cost again and go infinite pretty easily that way. So we are a critical mass combo deck. And the win conditions is generally going to be infinite tokens, but you can also win with Thermal Alchemist. If you have an excess of untappers, you can be tapping your Thermal Alchemist just to deal damage, and then they'll untap when you're Sprout Swarming anyway. So you can win pretty trivially without combat damage if your opponent's not as interactive. So like Tron is not as scary as it might be. Well, I mean, kind of. We're very vulnerable to Breath Weapon. Very, very vulnerable to Breath Weapon as a deck. So to cycle back around, this seemed like a pretty good fit with an Archomancer and Winding Way and Lead the Stampede because if you get to untap with your familiar effect, you are pretty good at just tearing through your deck with these draw spells. Being reduced is very useful, but Blister Split Gremlin and Nettle Sentinel are just very reasonably costed combo pieces anyway, so you are a functional deck when you don't untap with a familiar, which is a pretty significant issue with that other deck I showed earlier. Like that, if you don't have the turn 2 familiar, that deck just doesn't do anything, really. So, like, Gremlin and Nettle Sentinel do a pretty good job of helping you be mana efficient, especially when we play a lot of tap lands in the early turns. And so Basilisk Gate here is pretty great at providing another form of inevitability where, like, if your opponent has sufficiently contained your critical mass, like now this Blister Split Gremlin, which is pretty bad card, now actually has some text if we can Basilisk Gate and start attacking in for like 3 or 4 damage, while we have like Thermal Alchemist pinging them down while we're drawing some spells. So we have like an actual fair game plan that works here as well. And Gatecreeper Vine is really important for tying the room together here. It's kind of like the green Thraben Inspector in this deck where it helps you cheat on your land count, which is important for making Winding Way and Lead the Stampede good draw spells. We are 28 creatures, and that helps. That is made possible by Gatecreeper Vine because you'd probably want to be closer to 24 lands otherwise. This does have some pretty significant drawbacks. You do have some really painful hands with this deck where like you're looking at 7 and you've got like 1 land, 2 Gatecreeper Vines. So it does have some real risks with it, but it's stuff that you have to do to make Winding Way and Lead the Stampede good cards in your deck. Ardent Elementalist is here just primarily for redundancy on these 8 draw effects, but it's also really helpful for getting our Sprout Swarms through counterspells or any number of things. So it's not insanely powerful, but like it is just important redundancy for the deck. Also, like Winding Way is a really good card in the deck, but if you mill over a couple Sprout Swarms, it's kind of catastrophic since we have no ways to tutor for it, which is a pretty significant drawback to the deck. I thought about playing like some number of Mystical Teachings because we could name blue off of the Cliff Gates and Manor Gates, but there aren't other instances that I want to put in the deck or creatures with flash, so it would be just for Sprout Swarm, and I don't think that's quite good enough, but maybe it is. This is not by any means like a completely locked in deck list. The last main deck card I haven't really talked about here is Llanowar Visionary, which is really just like decent filler. And you probably don't want to be like playing filler in your constructed deck, but it's here for helping you play higher resource games. It adds mana, it draws a card, and that's just going to help you maintain that critical mass of resources so that you can like more easily execute your combo kill from hand, or if your opponent's interacting with you, you are just going to be able to draw more cards and accrue that those resources back in a somewhat efficient time frame. So this would be the card I'm most looking to replace, but it's by no means bad. It's just always going to be okay in our deck. It's never going to be completely nuts. So similar to what I've been doing lately, our sideboard is built basically with 2 decks in mind. We have our Affinity Hate in Gorilla Shaman and Masked Vandal, and we have our Red Hate in Healer of the Glade, which I haven't played in a hot minute. This is a great tech from P. Proteus suggested this to me for the deck, and I remember when this card came out, I was really excited playing this in Stompy sideboards because it gave you like a better burn matchup. It was like okay at that, but it was it was a very cute card at the time. I really enjoyed playing it. So it's fun to bring this one back. And then Saproling Gatekeepers, which the Naya Gates have put to great effect with Ephemerate. We don't have Ephemerate here, but we are a really good Saproling Gatekeepers deck. We're good at hitting land drops with Gatecreeper Vine, and we also have like a reasonable number of untapped lands, so it's pretty you can have a pretty good expectation of having this on turn 4 or turn 3 with the appropriate gates turned on. And that is excellent at buying you time to get through on the red deck. And we have like reasonable inevitability on the red deck. Like they can certainly interact with our creatures and keep us down that way, but the end game of like getting to Sprout Swarm is not something that they can kill the easiest through if they want to be using their burn spells like removal spells. But, you know, if they have like turn 1 Swift Spear, turn 2 Swift Spear, bolt your creature, and then just like keep up the pressure that way, we're going to die pretty easily. But there's a larger range of draws that we're good against. And Spider Silk Armor is our last sideboard card here. I really wanted to avoid... At first I tried a lot of non-creature spells in the sideboard, but it's become like, you know, from advice from others and just the play experience of like, you really need to have a lot of creatures to keep these Winding Way and Lead the Stampedes good. But Spider Silk Armor is like the one where I'm kind of okay with still including this. The +0/+1 is important for helping us get through Suffocating Fumes and End the Festivities, which are cards that will see both main deck and sideboard play against us. They're not incredible because of the main deck cards. You're just hitting Blister Split Gremlin and Thunderscape Familiar and the Sprout Swarm tokens. But that's like pretty easily a time walk if we're trying to combo people. So this is a nice thing to have, as well as our deck is incredibly weak to flyers. So a lot of the gate strategies, I wouldn't say are horrendous matchups, but we can put up pretty pitiful resistance in a lot of those situations. So having the ability to give reach here and then just like an infinite supply of chump blockers with Sprout Swarm is pretty helpful. Because it's relatively easy for the Gates decks to enact their plan of like, all right, they're going to kill 3 of our creatures, and then they're going to play 2 Basilisk Gates, and now their flyer's like a 12/12, and we just die in 2 turns, and we don't really do anything about that. So Spider Silk Armor is nice. It's really that double coverage that makes it worth it, of like, this is good versus sweepers, and this is good versus flyers. That our deck has demonstrated a lot of weakness to so far. So I don't want to talk this deck up too much. So far my record with it is 8-12. So I went 2-3, 2-3, 4-1, 0-5. And I think altogether that feels pretty representative of what I would expect from this deck. It is not gonna trophy by any stretch, but I think it's a deck that we could reliably 2-3 with. And so 2-3 is really kind of the goal that I'm looking for here. I try not to set expectations like that, because then it's easy to start feeling frustrated when you don't meet that expectation. But for a deck like this that's very different and does not really play any cards okay, so Winding Way and Lead the Stampede see play, and Gatecreeper Vine is kind of seeing play right now, but other than that, like, none of these cards are in the metagame aside from Basilisk Gate. There too. So for a deck that's like this far out of left field, I'm really happy with it to be having that kind of result, but I just kind of want to gauge a little bit of your expectations on that. You know, this is better than the Mardu Warstreaker Ephemerate deck, but I would not, maybe recommend investing too much in this deck. Or getting your hopes up too much that like, oh yeah, I'm going to build this for FNM, I'm going to crush, I'm going to 4-0. It's like, no, this we're here for a fun time, not for a winning time. But there's also a lot of room to explore with this deck. I'm by no means like totally locked in on this. What keeps me the most locked in right now is how good Saproling Gatekeepers is, where this gate package is very worthwhile to like having a good red matchup post board. But game 1 is going to be pretty rough. So some other thoughts I had for the deck was like cutting kind of like this package of spells here, or this one too, and then going for like Arboreal Grazer, Gruul Turf, Experimental Synthesizer, and Reckless Impulse as to like replace the draw spells, and then just be a much lower curve deck and see how that plays out. I'm not, because we do play like largely at sorcery speed, where we're just like slamming our creatures into play and hoping that it works out. So maybe that plan is like better with Synthesizer and Reckless Impulse than these spells, especially since we're like 28 creatures, which is enough for these to be like draw twos most of the time, but we're not really getting the nut highs of these cards that Defenders and Elves do by any stretch. So I don't know, like that's another build I'm considering, but I've played this with Gates and it works out somewhat of the time, so I just kind of want to try this, and maybe we'll come back to that. But there's certainly a lot of room to explore here, and that's part of what's been exciting to work on this so far. And the games have been pretty interesting and entertaining, so I'm hoping we can get some of that today, at least have some fun here. So I've rambled long enough. Let's get into it. Okay, round number 1, we are versus Genju 96. Don't know anything about this player. Another painful one-lander with Gatecreeper Vine, but gotta mulligan this. And this one is significantly better. I think with the 2 draw spells, we're just supposed to bottom Thermo Alchemist here. This is certainly going to be slower, but see how this goes. Okay, we're playing against red. But they've led on Epicure, which has got to be one of the cards that we're most realistically happy to see. So I'm going to fetch a Forest with this Gatekeeper Vine, so that way we can go turn 3 Anarchomancer into a second Vine. It's going to be pretty useful at gumming up the board. Alright, that's a good amount of pressure coming in. And yeah, we do want Forest here. We want untap lands. This is not really going to be a Basilisk Gate game. I don't think it's too likely that this Gatecreeper Vine, that this game is going to last enough turns where this block is wrong. Sprout Swarm is a great pickup because we're kind of going to need to combo them this game. I don't think we can spew it this turn. Unfortunately, there's just like no way our Anarchomancer lives here, and we kind of really desperately need it to live. I'm gonna F6. I don't think there's a game we win where we Sprout Swarm here. Alright, so if we... That's 8-12 exactly. Yeah. So we could make a... Or no, the Sprout Swarm is not saving any damage there. That's alright. Alright, so now we grab these 7 cards. I do kind of like Spider Silk Armor too, to be honest. Thunderscape Familiar is just the most dangerous card to be tapping out for. Llanowar Visionary is scary, and then Blister Split Gremlin is one we can put over here. Again, the 1/1s are not that great because they don't block immediately, and they're also very susceptible to Lava Dart. And so we are like going for a much slower game plan here, where we're not going to Sprout Swarm kill like immediately, but This is where like the Basilisk Gate plan is kind of nice, where if we just go up the board and just start attacking with like a 6/6 every turn with Basilisk Gate, that's okay. We can work with that, but we want to make sure we have the inevitability with these life gain creatures to enable us to do that. And here we are costed by our Basilisk Gate, because this might be a keep if this was like a mountain, but it's not. Do have like 2 draw spells, which is nice, but with no life gain creatures, I don't think this is something we can keep. This hand is better. I think I'm just going to put back the 2nd armor. It's pretty redundant from there, so I'm not sure what I'm fetching with this Gatekeeper Vine. I'm thinking basic forest. Yeah, so that way we can just go into Spider Silk armor. We draw like a Ceruli Caretaker, or not Caretaker, that's the other Ceruli card. Ceruli Gatekeepers. I don't know, Caretaker and Gatekeeper, when I say them, like the words just feel similar in my mouth, and it's very annoying. This block will be worth more on a later turn. Presumably they're going to cast more than one non-creature spell at some point. Winding Way is pretty good here. So I think I will do that instead of armor. If we hit like a Nettle Sentinel, we can maybe cast that this turn. Or we can brick. That's cool too. So next turn we can start Sprout Swarming. So that alone right there probably indicates that I don't want to block with Gatekeeper Vine, so that we can start getting on the board a little bit. Again, a chump block is just going to be worth more than 2 life on a future turn. Pretty dead to a Fire Blast here. Redirecting is tempting, but I don't think something we can do here. I think we're quite dead now. I can spew off 2 of these Sprout Swarms. And then we'll have blocks across the board, which is not a terrible place, but I think I'm just going to go block on Bushwhacker, block on... Okay, yeah, so just... I was going to make 2 block the Blaster twice, block the Bushwhacker, because there's just no non-creature spell that we're beating. But that's alright. Alright. 0-1. We'll see you for round 2. Okay, round number 2. Archon Magus. On the play. Quite nice with this deck. And... I think this hand is a keep. We just got like a functional mana, something that looks like a curve, we are like a draw spell away from really popping off, but I don't think we can like mulligan so aggressively for that. I really don't want to go turn 1 Nettle Sentinel here because we don't have any ways to untap it, so like this whole beatdown thing with it is unlikely to be punished for just getting our tap land in play. Another gate strategy. So C gate probably means blue-white gates. Or green, I guess, indicates Tron, which is not the worst matchup for us. All right. Yeah, I think I want to try to get this one in play so that we can start Basilisk gating every turn. I will attack for my 2 here. Leaving it back to block does not matter. If we should draw a green spell, this is pretty good. Impulse or something. Cool. I love playing Tron, but you don't get to play versus Tron that often. It's such an unpopular deck. And I like playing versus it when we have like a reasonable game plan. Of like they're kind of going to need to fog us a little bit, and we'll have like a reasonable plan around that. Network Terminal is a card I don't have enough opinions on yet in that deck. So do I want to Basilisk Gate or Thunderscape Familiar? I think I just want a Basilisk Gate and push damage. Next turn we can go Familiar plus Basilisk Gate. It's a large enough amount of damage. Mulldrifter here would be a little rough. Yeah. Hopefully they'll be inclined to chump block. Okay. Let's start with that. Alright, I think I'm going to pump here. Attack with both. Get the second Basilisk Gate here. And if they... okay, Tron's rough, for sure. Oh, is this Robohorde? Robohorde is kind of bad for me. Okay, Mnemonic Well is okay. I don't know what I want to do here. It's probably just do 1 gate activation and attack and then just deploy some familiars. I'm just a little scared and about wanting to try to combo kill them. By that I mean that like they're starting to get to the point where like they can access a breath weapon, and then the aggro plan is very bad versus that, but I think we can do like one more turn here of especially drawing the tap land is like reasonable to try and jam like this. They're probably inclined to chump block, which is good. And if they sweep now and get both of my Thunderscapes, that's not that bad for us. Okay. Main phase teachings. Or moments piece. Okay. My life is pain. That was... We didn't reveal this. No. So they don't know how good that Bajuka Bog was. Alright. Oh, we can still draw stuff. This Bog also turning on the flashback of teachings is so good for them. This is all atrocious. This is the full set of Thunderscape familiars. Yeah, we're not really too worried about trying to aggro them out at this point, so that's fine to see. Still want to do this just so that they can't use their mana on other things. I'll hold the Nettle Sentinel though. Don't want to deploy more into a sweeper if we don't have to. Also fine for us. Okay, this is good. Please do not have, like, negate. Prohibit doesn't get the job done here. Does it? Oh wait, that was a tower? Oh, curses. Or wait. Unwind? Okay. Okay, so they appear to have misclicked and not untapped their lands, which is pretty huge with his teachings in the graveyard. So that means we at least get to lead the Stampede back. Unlikely to really matter here because they still have the ability now to go like teachings for Ephemerate and then lock us out. Alright, but if they're this worried about combat, we have time to like set up other things if this lead the Stampede resolves. Yep, this is fine. So this means that they're unlikely to have Unwind up this turn. All right. Do you think we want to Gatecreeper Vine for the shuffle? Probably should have held that land for Dinrova Horde, but we're also probably dead here. Alright, yeah, they got it. Like, yeah, the one land would have made a difference, but no, then they just start flickering it anyway, so it really wasn't, it does not matter, but we are dead. Alright. Spetter Silk Armor doesn't really get us through Breath Weapon, which I did note in the deck tech is something that we're uniquely poor against. Like it'll save Nettle Sentinel and a Narcomancer from Breath Weapon, but that's kind of it, and I don't think that's worth it. Could bring in Gorilla Shaman, honestly. Try to eat some maps early or Refractors. It's pretty weak, but it might be better than Llanowar Visionary. I don't think so. I think we just gotta try to be a combo deck. Keep things concise. Pretend that Breath Weapon doesn't exist. And we'll be okay. That's good though. Both of these matches so far, we've had the windows to get back in the game, and we've just kind of bricked off. And that's okay. This hand's pretty solid. Best hand we've seen so far, I think. Like we did get to demonstrate last game, like the gates providing enough value that our opponents had to play more defensively than they may have otherwise. So that was nice. Just plays better into Prohibit if that's what they have. And the second our Necromancer's not reducing a ton here. Our hand just also needs more mana, so if we draw a land, that would be really nice here. Preferably a forest. That's okay. No, we don't have enough to buy back a Sprout Swarm. Caster Winding Way. The Blisper Split Gremlin's not really going to matter for this turn. Like creatures. Alright. I'm going to put Thermo Alchemist into play. And I think I'm not going to attack here. I think I do want to cast the Sprout Swarm on their end step, because if they have a counter spell, we'll get to wind through that. And if they have Breath Weapon, I get to be sad. Okay, so they just let me do that. I think this is good. We're just going to start tapping Thermo Alchemist a bunch. Yeah. Yeah, so we're in the combo zone. It's not this. The Thermo Alchemist part of the combo here is very reasonable to execute. We also have this other Sprout Swarm in our hand. So presumably what they're holding on to here is a Weather the Storm, which is fine. Or they're trying to make me use my clock, which is totally fine. Do not mind at all. Just want to click with good consistency. Get into a good rhythm. Remember to tap my Thermo Alchemist. Remember to tap my tappers. Make sure that I'm always convoking and never casting it for its regular cost. Which is why you see me tapping the Blister Split Gremlins first, because if I was not convoking, then the Moto unit interface wouldn't let me do anything there. That mana would not matter. So just good habits to try and set up so that you don't mess up. Because it's not a forgiving combo to mess up. Not like generating an incredible number of resources each time. You just get these 1/1s. Opponent says, nice combo. Thank you. I like it as well. It's pretty cool. This Blister Split Goblin is a card, or Gremlin, is a card that I noticed like when Ikoria came out, and I was like, yo, this is like a redundancy for effects that we're already interested in, and it's pretty efficient. As a 1/1, it's pretty weak. The activated ability is not super useful. Really doesn't come up often, but it's nice to like finally cast it. Because I was excited by it. Oop, I didn't untap my thermo that time. I probably missed a couple thermo activations. To be honest, that's okay. But I was like really excited by Blister Split Gremlin when it came out. So it's cool to like finally convert on building a deck that's reasonable with it. Hooray. So that was like a 4-minute combo. That was fine. And didn't see any sideboard cards from them that make me want to change that. Presumably, blue blasts are coming in from them now if they weren't before, which is kind of rough. This deck suffers from some serious splash damage with blue blast. I'm sure you could try building a Sprout Swarm deck with different colors, but the red for these familiars is pretty important to this strategy. And a Narcomancer. A Narcomancer is just kind of the best mana dork by a lot. It's part of the cool appeal of this deck, too. It's like, you know, we've got our busted MH2 card, but we've also got, like, some classics. Like Thunderscape. Thunderscape familiar. Pardon me. This hand's pretty great, actually. We do see like some of the tension of the deck where sorry, that was an interesting draw. Yeah, now I think I'm just doing this and casting a Narcomancer this coming turn. Or maybe I just go Thermo? They didn't float mana, so that's nice for us. Maybe they've got a second crop rotation to flip the Sea Gate into something. I think I'm just going to cast Thermo Alchemist here. They're likely to have a piece of interaction, and I think I want that interaction to not be hitting Goblin and Narcomancer right now. Cool. So I do think we just have to put this Narcomancer into the bolt. We get our Gatecreeper Vine. They respond with the bolt at the appropriate time. I'm just going to get another tap land. And now next turn we can start casting our draw spells. may ask yourself, Water, why are you playing one Girl Guild Gate? And it has just felt right. The number of gates, I'm not certain on what the right amounts are. 2 Basilisk Gate has felt really good. 3 Mountain, I didn't talk about this in the deck tech, but 3 Mountain has really felt important, where you do want a lot of untapped red sources late in the game. And so being able to draw towards that is really nice. Not certain what my sequencing here wants to be, because if I lead the Stampede or Winding Way into another Gate Creeper Vine, getting a tap land looks really good. But I could also just play this Basilisk Gate up front and cast the Winding Way, and I think I like that the most. They can prohibit but not unwind. Sure. I think I just want to cast Lead here. So we're pretty weak to Denrova Horror plus Flickers, but other than that, I feel like we're in okay shape. Like even versus a Sweeper, where we have the resources on the left here to rebuild pretty adequately. I just want to keep developing my mana as much as possible, so I think this is the play that I want. And I'll get the Thermo out there, since this is a card that's like at least weak to the Sweeper. Teachings here would be probably like the worst case for us. Most other... what? Oh, is this just Prohibit? I hope this is just Prohibit. Impulse. Why wouldn't you just flicker the Refractor and the Mnemonic Wall? What am I missing? I guess what I'm missing is they have a large CMC instant that they want to cast right now. So maybe they just have the Teachings in hand, and then that Teachings is just better than any card drawing they do, but why not just cast the Teachings first? I'm not quite believing it. Alright, so now they have Ephemerate. So we're going to have to be double spelling to try to get our way out of this. We're going to lose Thermo Alchemist and Goblin Anarchomancer. Not sure that we can beat that. Okay, they didn't get a second bolt with this Ephemerate. They can Prohibit. Okay. That's more mana intensive for them, which is like probably good for us. Alright, so they have the Breath Weapon. Not sure how we can sequence around everything here. I think I'll play Thunderscape Familiar and lead the Stampede. And only reveal 3 off of this if I get the option to do more, but that's just the right amount. Sprout Swarm going to the bottom isn't ideal, but we can shuffle. I think we're pretty dead, but I'm hoping there's a way that we can squeeze something through here. So the hand is Bolt, Prohibit, Ephemerate. Yeah, I just don't think there's any way out. I'll take 1 draw step. 1 more draw step, and then we'll see. But again, don't feel bad about this game. Feel like you give them a run for the money. That's kind of the one card that makes me think otherwise. But it shouldn't. I can't do anything. Because I can just Breath Weapon multiple times a turn, and we can beat like 1 Breath Weapon, but not multiples. That's alright. Okay, on to round 3. Okay, round 3 versus G. Montero. Sounds good. Sounds good. Looks like we're up against Affinity. And we're just going to be asking, do you have main deck Clan Shaman? If you do, things are going to get hairy. And if they don't, we might be able to slip past. I think we'll just go for the Gremlin here, and then next turn we can go like Thunderscape plus Gatecreeper Vine. Although, I don't know, they'll probably be Winding Way instead. Just hoping that they've drawn like maybe 1 Enforcer, but not more than that. So they do have Metallic Rebuke up, so I will not play my land first in case they have a counter spell. Okay. We have achieved our critical mass of creatures. Now we are simply looking for a Sprout Swarm. We can get a Basilisk Gate and start applying some pressure that way. This is the Enforcer turn, so let's see how many they rolled. 1. Okay, 1 Enforcer in the top 14. That's really good for us. That means we can play. our Gatekeeper Mine in play. I'm going to search up Basilisk Gate, but I'm just going to play the Grill this turn. Cycling Kenku is interesting because we cannot block that. I mean, they do have the Blood Fountain in play, so I guess it's not a huge spew. Or spew is not the right word. I don't want to make it sound like that, but they've got options for sure. All right, so this is okay for us. So they can Croc Clan Shaman us again. That'll probably be the end of the game. Play out some creatures. Probably lose. Oh, I missed a block with the Thunderscape. That's okay, it did not matter. Alright. We are dead. So kind of similar to what we saw before, these X ones are going to be the worst spells that we have. So you're going to get these Gorilla Shamans and Mask Vandals in their stead. Not sure how to pronounce that word best. We're back in there. His hand's good. As with most of these hands, it's just we're one draw spell away from being really good. But we'll accept this. And these are kind of the spots, like Goblin and Narcomancer is a very demanding card. And this is like the kind of hand where Blue Elemental Blast kind of unimpressed me during a lot of the games, where like having to name blue with one of these gates is actually pretty difficult to do and has like significant impact on your game. I didn't really like that. I don't really want to try and Gorilla Shaman this turn. Like I could pay 2 mana, blow up this blood token. And like if they have a land, they're getting Mirror Enforcer anyway. Could go land, or I could go Shaman and blow up the fountain. That doesn't sound horrible, I guess. Maybe I'll do that and just hope that they don't. It's like a decent Gorilla Shaman right there. I know we're not really like trying to value game our opponent here, but this is not the worst spot for one. And hopefully that kept them off Enforcer for another turn. And they know they have to use this treasure token right away. Okay, so they have the blast for the Shaman. Well, that's all pretty okay by us. I could try to get a Sprout Swarm in there this turn, but I don't think we need to do that. Nice. Oh, okay. Alright, we're kind of doing it. And now we can start Sprout Swarming. Which is not like gonna destroy this game, but is gonna provide a steady stream of interaction. I am surprised they did not want to main phase that with Ichor Wellspring in play. Okay. Oh, I made a mistake. I should have attacked with Masked Vandal last turn because I could have floated the mana with Visionary this in response to all this and had a token here. That wasn't good. I think I might still end step a token here. But that was a mistake for sure. Especially when it's pretty reasonable to see that they're just chump blocking there. Again, I'm not sure what I want to do here, because they can just get back the Clan Shaman. I think we're just buying or casting this, trying to draw something. Not a bad draw. Oh, they don't Blood Fountain end of turn. Oh, because they drew another one. I see. Interesting game. I don't think I can afford to use my last Sprout Swarm here. So I'm just going to let that go. I can Masked Vandal this Blood Fountain, which does represent 2 more Clan Shaman, so I think that's worthwhile here. I'd want to be like, the other thing I'd be considering saving this for is a Mirror Enforcer, which they don't have, and I don't know where the rest of I was going with that, but like the 2 Clan Shamans are the cards that we're most worried about, and that is 2 of them, so I should destroy it. And we can attack through a Mirror Enforcer, so that card is not our biggest concern right now. If this is Galvanic Blast, I can just let it go. Metallic Rebuke would make me sad, but I don't think I've seen it yet. And I have a creature in play already. And we've seen 2 Blood Fountains, 3 Clan Shamans. I think I'm okay to deploy to the board a little bit more. I do have a Sprout Swarm activation here, or cast, even if I don't. I can't float mana into it. That's pretty good. I'd like creatures, please. Drew 4? We got to do it? That's exciting. Well, what do we do now? I think I just slam things on the board. I'll make sure to resolve my Elementalist at the time when it's most cheapest before they can interact with me. Pretty reasonable for them to have Blue Blast here. Righto. I'm pretty safe to attack with all for lethal here and make infinite tokens in response. If they block the Goblin and Archomancer. Or I guess I just passed priority. Would you like to take lethal damage? They would not. I need to not click quite as fast, because then I can save an additional click if Moto has time to learn that I don't need colored mana from the second Nettle Sentinel. I'm probably going to settle for like 20 tokens here. Because that gets around like some Mirror Enforcer into Reckoner's Bargain. I think I've seen one or two. I've seen one Reckoner's Bargain, so playing around 2 more I think is a reasonable place to be. And this is relatively quick to execute. They're F6'd. Moto's running smoothly. Having only one type of trigger to put on the stack saves so much time here. If this was like Nettle Sentinel plus Blister Split Gremlin, it would be a lot more. You can still do it pretty efficiently, but it's considerably worse. But just getting into a good rhythm with good habits. Just keep cruising. Because it's a 4-minute combo. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Well, this may be only like the second or so time I've played a combo deck on the channel. I know I did Cycle Storm a ways back. Elves, if you count it. That Legacy Elves thing. But that's not even a combo deck anymore. Okay. I have my 20 tokens. You are at 1 life. Show me more sweepers. They can certainly have more sweepers. That's okay. Do it again. Alright, we won through like quadruple Clan Shaman. Masked Vandal looked pretty great. And I'm happy that we get to have it. So even though we're still a 28 creature deck, we are far less combo oriented post board, but you can still get to end games like that. And Sprout Swarm plus Basilisk Gate just did a ton of work forcing them to be defensive in that, which was nice. Mulligan and just bottom the Thermo Alchemist here. Keep our cards that play for high resource games. And we're cruising. Nice to have Thermo Alchemist here. They're going to be pretty incentivized to interact with it, and then we get to do other stuff. Oh, I was hoping for a Gorilla Shaman. But opponent has given us this opportunity to dig for a Gorilla Shaman, so we're going to have to try to spike one. Can never complain about a draw 2. This coming turn, I'm thinking of going like Visionary plus Nettle Sentinel. Oh, give me that monkey. I'll now also accept. Oh. Oh. Do we greed for the monkey? I think it's not even greed, because we want to play the Basilisk Gate this turn, and so our play is going to be either Visionary plus a 1-drop or Winding Way plus both 1-drops, and that's just got to be better to try to do it this way. Okay, no. I mean, we drew 3, so like that's pretty great. But no monkey. Alright, so now we need to be a little cautious about sweepers. So uh-oh. Well, I think our window to win this game has closed. We can take a lot of game actions on this coming turn, but I suspect our opponent will have sufficient interaction for it not to matter. I would love to chump with my 1/1 in this board. I think we just gotta try to lead to Stampede. Okay. Alright, now I'm a little annoyed that we're like well over halfway through the deck and no Gorilla Shamans, no Masked Vandal is a little bad because we were kind of hoping for those. I will chump with Mirror Enforcer, or chump with the Gate Creeper Vines this turn, I believe. Yeah, we're just very dead. We had the window, and we couldn't capitalize. Yep. I don't know. I've got a lot of game actions I can take, and it all ends with like end of next turn. I have just no resources in play. And not in a position to top deck. Yeah, it's like if we had taken like 8 less damage from one of these enforcers, or blown them out on turn 3, I think we could have had it. But I'm not going to draw a card. I'm not that sadistic. That's alright. Alright. Round 4. Let's go. Okay. Round number 4 versus Lost and Kato. If I recall correctly, they play a wide variety of decks. This hand's great. This hand's awesome. It's like one of the most diverse hands we've seen so far. We have a curve, we have card draw spells, we have the Sprout Swarm that we can't tutor for. This is cool. This is great. But I do have to play the mountain first. So if we're playing versus an opposing gate strategy, it may be worth it to get Basilisk Gate at some point, but I think we just want to make sure we get our mana underneath us. Toxic 1. When Crawling Chorus dies, create a 1/1 Phyrexian Might artifact creature token with Toxic and can't block. Okay. So I don't want to attack into that, that's for sure. So we're just going to cast Winding Way. Mill 3, but it was just 3 lands, so not hugely inconsequential. So this is white, black, and black, red. So I'm not in fear of counter spells at this time. So that means I can fire off one of these Sprout Swarms if I so desire. We don't get to use the mana acceleration part of a Necromancer right now, but we do get to make a token here if we so desire. I don't think I do. But this additional 2/2 on board is just really nice value. I don't really want to try to do any kind of damage things here, so I'm just going to cast my Lead the Stampede. Like, if they have something I don't know about, like Raise the Alarm, which is like acceptable with some of the cards that they've shown so far, I don't want to get involved with that. So I will simply not. And we're just going to keep hanging out. If they attack with both, I'm probably just blocking the Might with the Gatecreeper Vine. It's way more likely they try to do something with Proliferate than they try to 20 ball me right now with that Sacred Cap. I'm doing this now so if they remove the Thunderscape Vine, I can go fetch an untapped land with the Winding Way, or with the Gatecreeper Vine and cast Winding Way. It wouldn't work the other way. And what do I want here? I guess this is a fine spot for Basilisk Gate. Okay, mill the Sprout Swarm, 2 lands, and drew a Thermo. Yeah, they can do some sacrificing here, but this is all just very taxing on their mana. I'm not too worried about it. I think I'm just going to cast the Elementalist here, get back, lead the Stampede. We now have the ability to Sprout Swarm. And we can start grinding our way through this board state. Just keep hanging out. This is fine. They can get a bunch of tokens if they want. Like specifically, Temur Battle Rage destroys me here, but I don't even die. I just take a lot of damage. And from what I've seen so far, if they Temur Battle Rage me, then, you know, good beats. That was also bad. I should have floated that mana, and I would be able to more safely Sprout Swarm on their turn. That will still likely be fine, but that was definitely a misstep. Maybe even a mental misstep. I guess this attack is free. Get in there, Chief. what's this? Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, this is a lot of tokens, but I'm going to make infinite tokens. That's like a bigger number than a lot. I think this attack for 4 is totally fine to take. Because they can deal me 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 on their turn. By going upstairs. So I've got infinite tokens. And I suppose I should just do that while the getting is good. Especially because with a Basilisk Gate familiar, this is not going to be good on their turn, most likely. And I don't believe I have the mana to, like, Ardent Elementalist something back. Although I do on a future turn. So 30 tokens is probably going to be the number that I want here. There's a lot of cards they could have in their deck. I guess at a if they have a second Basilisk Gate, they can get a 15-15 cat or a 17-17. Oh, so I need more like 50. That's unfortunate. Oh, just saw your comment, opponent. Very cool idea. Thank you. It is cool. Different take on like the Lead the Stampede archetype. Feels, you know, better than elves. Like I think elves this league would have struggled way more than we have struggled. And I think we are slightly worse than defenders. like I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I have also just kind of built worse defenders that requires more synergy. But there are some unique things going on here that maybe you get to build this. Maybe there's like different ways to build this where you have some advantages over them. I think the one advantage that has been pretty clear to me so far is that this really Gatekeepers gives you a positive red matchup where defenders requires you to have creatures in play to go into like Nylea's Disciple for that to be the case. And there is a certain amount of time that does work out, but I think that that's certainly a riskier play than like you can have no board on turn 4 and play Gatekeepers and you're stabilized. And that's just not what Disciple does for the defender's deck. Well, you do get Pulse of Marasa. There's options for sure, but I feel like versus red, this is a stronger approach. And I think Affinity is also somewhat more manageable, but I could be wrong, because I think just by having such a low land count, the defender's deck struggles to rebuild from the Krark Clan Shaman turns, even if like the Shaman activations are more costly for Affinity. It's still just enough of a problem that I think Affinity gets to capitalize on that too much. I might stop at 40 and just say if they have second gate, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Although I am kind of incentivized to do my comboing now, because if I like wait for them to play second gate and then kill my creature, then I have to combo on their turn when they're not going to F6, and that's going to be worse for my clock for sure. So I should probably just not be a baby and just make my 50 tokens and move on with my life. But, you know, knock on wood, we have been able to avoid combo breaking punts so far. We've played, this is only our second time going through the combo. Although we have, I think there's like been 2 executions of it before. Yeah, we've won 2 games, and I think all of them have been Sprout Swarm wins. Which I suppose does kind of indicate that maybe this gate plan is too weak. And, you know, we have had to mulligan because we've drawn Basilisk Gate at inopportune times. So I really am interested in, it was just an idea I had yesterday about Grazer, Synthesizer, and Impulse to like lower the curve. Because like if you synth into Sprout Swarm, it's like a pretty easy card to like chuck into your graveyard or like cast without buyback. And then you can access it later with Elementalist, but then you're playing Elementalist in your Synthesizer deck, which is like kind of quite stinky. So I don't know. It's pretty unsurprising that like I am struggling to find good ways to add consistency to Sprout Swarm. As I play my all-in combo deck with one card that doesn't have a on-color tutor. I don't know. Alright, we're almost there. I think this was like 7 minutes. So probably don't want to have to do it again. If they suffocating fumes me here, I might just have to concede. I guess I also didn't consider that they've got the 10 tokens. So second gate or second basilisk plus that is the nightmare. I just took lethal damage because I didn't block. Oh. All right. Well, there's my significant punt for you. Wow, that was Xaxes too. Yep. All right. I don't think we were winning that game anyway, for what it's worth, if they had kept playing there. So they're a black-red deck of sorts. I don't think they'd be playing Clan Shaman, but I imagine they have some suffocating fumes for me. So I'll play the Spider Silk Armor for that. We'll see what we can do. Oh, that was game 1. I thought that was game 2 for sure. But that's what happens. You play poorly, you get punished. That's what Magic's all about. We'll see what we can do here. We can definitely like Thermal Alchemist combo in this amount of time. Beyond that, it's going to be a little hairy. Got a bolt for the Alchemist, alright. Alrighty. So that's probably game over with the Lead the Stampede. They're just drawing one card. But we did ask for putting Spider Silk Armor in our deck. 26 is not enough to be a great Lead the Stampede deck. Yep. You get a shot at redemption. Right, does get its cost reduced. Excellent. Alright, that's good enough for me to concede on this one. Yeah, we just don't have any resources to fight through this board state. And no Thermal Alchemist, so it's unlikely that we're going to be able to get anywhere from those. Sacred Cats is going to gain them too much life. A lot of things going against us there. Don't need to worry about it. Alright, so we are 0-4. We'll see you for the last round. Okay, here we are for round number 5. See if we can salvage together a win. This hand is somewhat functional. We have a lot of land drops and some card draw. So we'll see what we can do. So it looks like mono red again. Let's play our tap land turn 1. Turn 2 impulse has got to be on the better end of things for us. And quite happy to toss our Gate Creeper Vine into the void. I think I'm just going to get a mountain here in case we need untapped red. I think it's unlikely we need untapped green. I think we'll have enough green sources for what we're trying to do here. I think I'm just going to play the Visionary and pass because it's unlikely that it lives. These are all relatively okay things right now. I don't believe there's a reason to expose either of these familiars to this lava dart at this time, although it's unlikely that they'll ever really get to do something. It's also unlikely that we live. Not quite what we're looking for. I think I'm actually just going to go Gremlin here, because that's got the potential to be more damage next turn. And the attack with the Visionary, as opposed to like playing the Thunderscape, is just pretty good for us. There's a Bushwhacker. Yeah. Whack Whack. Or Fire Blast. Yeah, so my play is quite scripted here. Oh, I see. Oh, it does have the menace. Oh, I am dead. Excellent. No, for Xaxes too. Bushwhacker maybe should have been on my radar more, but I don't know about specific combinations of things there I would have played around, or are worth playing around. Go with the boarding we did before, which I quite like. Spider Silk, still questionable at best, but yeah. Yeah, it would be one of those hands. So we basically got one draw step to hit 19 lands. And if we don't, the game's just over. So it's not going to be good enough. And this hand is definitely not good enough. This one has 2 lands, so it's going to have to do. So there's 2 leads. Our Elementalist is on the bottom. And the 2 Spider Silks. So we've got 4 non-castables that we can draw. I'm pretty happy with this exchange, honestly. Oh, right, those. Perfect. Right. Did up my curve significantly in that way. Well, we're doing it. We are winding way for land. All right. This is 7. Not dead on board necessarily. Alright, just don't have a sacrifice, don't have burn spells, just have 4 lands in hand, and play might continue. Alright, cool. Yeah, that's disappointing. This whole league was just tremendously disappointing. GG's. Yeah, just nothing really worked the whole league. No part of this was really cohesive. Like, Gatecreeper Vine was awful. Winding Way and Lead the Stampede were utterly useless. Ardent Elementalist got blown out by Graveyard Hate just incidentally. I mean, the Visionaries were never that bad, but that's the whole point of the card. It's not that strong ever. So, and we do run into like the obvious issues with cards like these where the cheap red removal that's played a lot at the format is very good versus this, and Breath Weapon is just catastrophic. I did play poorly to lose the fourth match for sure, but even that didn't feel like I was in a great position for most of it. Makeshift Munitions just being very good at picking off our creatures and preventing us from comboing. So I also have to say, we played some long games, but I think Basilisk Gate is just not going to be worth it for this deck. I think I feel somewhat confident saying that after that league, that one's just not really going to make it happen. It did come up, like we activated Basilisk Gate a couple of times, and I think our opponents had to play slightly more conservative because of it, but I don't think that ever actually changed the outcome of a game in a way that was positive for us. So I think that's probably worth cutting, and like our hands it's very difficult to mulligan with this deck. Or we mulligan a lot because of our intense mana requirements. So having this wastes in our deck was just really problematic for a lot of times. There's a chance that Gatecreeper Vine is still good enough just to like fetch Gruul Guild Gates basically. It was pretty important for like letting us kill from hand and have sufficient mana for that. So maybe that's still good, but I guess really it's just I would be looking to cut all of these cards. They were just so bad this whole league, which is unfortunate because this was really the core that I was hoping and have found to be pretty good, but I just don't think that's the case. You can't play like we missed too often. And not just like missed in like I cast like the bricks that we hit were just so bad and so frequent that I don't think we can do this again. It's acceptable to like draw one creature off of these, but the 4 or 5 bricks we had were just too much, I think, to really justify continuing to play these. So I'm not sure where to go after that, because you're going to need like card advantage to maintain that critical mass. So I guess that would be my next thought, is like play some Gruul Turf, or play a build with like Gruul Turf, Arboreal Grazer, Reckless Impulse, and Synthesizer. See how that might go, like really trying to drop the curve low. Although, like, as I think I mentioned earlier, that like Synthesizer plus Sprout Swarm is a little awkward, where like it's easy to get in your graveyard, but it's like it's a 5 CMC card, even though it has Convoke. So it can be tough to always be on your radar as you search into it. And kind of the other direction would be to play more, to play blue as well. So like then maybe you get like Muldrifter or some like Behold the Multiverse kind of card to help accumulate your resources, but then also have like a Mystical Teachings to find Sprout Swarm more efficiently. Could be a way to go. Maybe like Wood Elves could be useful in like a blue-green thing. Or a Teamer, I guess, because you really need these red untappers. I'm not sure if there are other untappers in other colors, but like, this is a pretty efficient combo package. So like having like red-green lower on the curve and then some more expensive blue spells to help smooth things out could be an interesting way to go for sure. Maybe Great Cooper Vine comes back into the picture. Or maybe it's just it might just be the card that I has been on screen a lot, but Open the Gates, which is just Gatecreeper Vine, but as a sorcery and 1 mana. I don't even have any. Even I've been talking or like dancing around this card. Great art. But maybe that's good because I did find that like the access to just get more guild gates was really useful with these intense mana requirements. So maybe this is just a card that's fine, and if you don't have to play Winding Way and Lead the Stampede to like have an artificially high creature count, maybe that's the way to go. Well, probably Into the North probably is better. Yeah, Into the North could be fun. You get the snow duels from Call Time. That could be interesting. That could be interesting. In place of like Gatecreeper Vines, then you got like 12 2-mana ramp spells. I don't know. A lot to think about there. But so I guess either way I'm looking there to either go like with the red draw package or blue endgame. Either one of those is like kind of moving away from the gates, which is a shame because like Saproling Gatekeepers is kind of one of the best things keeping us afloat here. Although we got clowned by red twice, but I mulliganed to 4 or 5. Both sideboard games didn't draw a third land. Like I don't know. It's not like it needs. You do need to hit 4 lands for this, but we're generally or 4 mana because we do have these cost reducers that make that math a little different. But breaking on that is not something I'm going to beat myself up over and be like, oh, we built the deck wrong for that. Just like, it happens. Affinity sideboard actually felt pretty good. I don't know if cutting these cards really, if you still have the density to play Masked Vandal, probably. I think so. I think Masked Vandal's still probably pretty good in Gorilla Shaman, so that would say the same Spider Silk Armor, but these 7 would probably change to different anti-red cards either way that you go there. I'm not sure what that would be, but there's a lot of room to explore with this too. So I am probably going to set it down for a little bit because there's just so much cool stuff going on in Pauper right now that I want to get to. So I'm kind of done with this archetype for a little bit, but there's some direction to go with for sure. It was a very disappointing league. Going 0-5 is just not very interesting, and a lot of the games that we lost were just like mulligan to 5, brick on Lead the Stampede, game's over. And I think this deck can do a lot better than that for sure, and I really enjoyed like the matches versus Tron and Affinity. I thought it played out really well. We lost those, but like I think we were competitive in those games, so like I feel pretty good about that. Having a brew that was able to compete with both of those is like I'm pretty satisfied with that. I wouldn't say that we're like greatly favored in either of those matchups. We're probably like 40-45% at best, but like we're in there, and that was good to see. My play versus the Gates deck was very poor, and I mean, I say poor. Had one catastrophic punt that just cost me the game, and I don't think it was likely to win both sideboard games in 9 minutes, and then unlikely to do that when I drew as poorly as I did. So a little bit of copium there, but I think it was going to be a struggle of a matchup. No, not struggle of a matchup, but I think it was going to struggle to win that match, even if I played better. So yeah, disappointing, but still got to show off like some cool gameplay elements, but this does kind of need to be reworked away from this Winding Way Lead the Stampede package. So I don't know. Maybe somebody out there wants to take a crack at it. The deck is fun. I did really enjoy the league for the most part. And hopefully you enjoyed watching it. So this ended up being a pretty long ramble towards the end. So thank you for sticking around through it, and appreciate you watching. And let me know what you think of this. What would you want to see more of, like the experimental synthesizer powering this, or like some Mult Drifters and Pulsar Marasa to do that instead? I don't know. It'll be food for thought for a while, which is always appreciated. So thanks, and hope you have a good day.